All right, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers draft here. So first, let me just explain what the chart that you see next to me is. So first, it is where the player was selected, then what the player's name is, their position, and finally where they were projected to go via the consensus big board. First, at pick 21, there was a lot of Wilshire Sanders go here, which ended up being very much not true. Derek Harmon was the player they ultimately decided to select, with pick 21, a guy who I think should be really good. Again, exactly is he going to get playing time is part of the question, but should be because they have good players there, but should be able to get some playing time, should be a really good pass rushing interior defensive lineman who I think can hold his own in run defense as well. A player I was higher on than some others were. I think 27 ranked prospect was a little low, so I think 21st, yeah, I'm on board here. They didn't get a pick again until 83. Remember, they traded for DK Metcalf. So now with pick 83, they decided to go running back here, going with Caleb Johnson, who, so I like a lot of Caleb Johnson's game. I ultimately didn't put him as one of my top 5 running backs, mostly because I was like, okay, he's pretty good at everything, but where is he great at? But you know what? There is value in someone who's just pretty good at everything. And you look like, okay, Jalen Warren does what he does very well. You have Kenneth Gainwell in the mix, and I guess Cordell Patterson's still there. But getting someone like Caleb Johnson, because Najee Harris is gone, should be a pretty good running back one right away, who should be pretty solid. So for this team, yeah, I'm all aboard on a move like this, and he gets to stay in yellow and black, so there you go. Love the pick with Jack Sawyer. He was a guy who I really did like, and I just think it's like, again, sometimes just draft good football players. He's someone who is just a good football player. I know the athleticism won't wow you, and I know when you see him on the field, you're like, this guy doesn't seem to be that athletic. Okay, he's not a hyper athlete, but you know what? He's physical enough. He definitely fits the Steelers culture or Steelers mindset, I feel like, of just a grinded out type player, and it just had production. Just was a good player ultimately. Again, is he going to get playing time? Like him and Harmon, it's like, okay, these guys might be the future, but are they the present? Because you have not only, okay, TJ Watt, he's in 1,000 snap a year player if he's healthy. You then have Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig. Those are 2 really good players. So it's like, well, where do you find room for Jack Sawyer unless there's an injury? Well, injuries happen. You want to be prepared. But also, like, okay, are those players all going to play forever? No. And, Highsmith and Herbig are still, young, and TJ Watt's not old. He's 30. He's still got some years left. Who knows what the roster will end up being? Who knows what will happen? So, again, for the value at pick 123 to just get a good player, I know maybe Steelers fans would have loved to go need a little bit more, but I just think he's a good player. So, yeah, no real issue here. They then go Yahya Black, interior defensive lineman, who's, 320-pound run-stuffing interior defensive lineman. Again, how many snaps are you going to get out of a guy like this? Who knows? But you're going to get some, and why not just get a player who you should be able to use effectively, right? So I'm not going to criticize the team for getting good players. Again, though, the question has to be asked of just how many snaps are you getting out of him because of just the situation, but you should be able to get at least a few hundred out of, at least the interior guys, I would say. Will Howard is interesting. So projected to go at 102, goes 185. I think some people did like him. Ultimately, he was kind of, what everyone says about Ohio State quarterbacks every time is like, oh, they're only first read quarterbacks. They just run the system well. I don't know what they could do outside of that. Will Howard is kind of that, right? That it kind of is him. I don't know. I'm assuming that the hope is they can develop more with him, which I actually think is totally possible. I do think for this pick at 185, this is a pretty smart move. You're not spending a premium pick on a quarterback, and he isn't someone like Shedeur Sanders who, like, you almost have to make the starter right away, but should be a pretty decent player. Now, I think we should just talk about the quarterback thing in general for a second. They did not go all out on quarterback, right? And Will Howard isn't the kind of guy you go out and get if you're just looking for if you're actually looking for a starter I wouldn't think, right? Maybe they love Will Howard and this was their plan all along. They probably would have reached on him a bit if that was the case instead of waiting till pick 185 to do something like that. So I don't think that's what's happening. You got to assume it's Aaron Rodgers, right? That's where my head's going. Maybe people don't think that's going to happen, but feels like this is an Aaron Rodgers thing. And then, hey, Will Howard, you can learn behind Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers isn't good right away and you have to move on, well, at least you have a backup plan here. So I think it's a smart move. Then a couple of interesting picks here. I do wonder at the end if they just went with a couple of special teams guys. First, Carson Bruner here, who is a 6'2", 260-pound linebacker, so definitely a fast linebacker. A lot of times these guys are are special teams guys. I will say, like, he does have some interesting numbers when it comes to his coverage analytics at Washington. So I don't know if they're maybe hopeful that he could at least be a depth piece there. Again, usually linebacker at 226, you're expecting a special teamer, but maybe there is some other stuff here. And then Dante Kent, he just feels like he has to be a special teamer. Projected to go in the 400s, and again, there's only about 250 picks. He is someone who's only 5'11", 195. This just feels like someone who, they're probably going to use it mostly for special teams. So, bit of a shorter thing here, but ultimately, this was one that I liked. This was a draft that I thought was a very good draft, mostly because, and again, I guess the question is, should they have done more to help out the offense, perhaps, or to address the quarterback situation? I think Aaron Rodgers is the guy. And to be honest, my conspiracy theory, which is totally speculation, so don't take anything more away from this. My conspiracy theory has been Rodgers wants to go to the Steelers, but he didn't want to, go to a team unless, officially, just in case, if I sign with the Steelers, then they could take a quarterback. If I say, yes, I'm going to go to you, I just don't want to sign until after the draft. Well, now, okay, maybe we'll take a quarterback with pick 185, but we're not going to take a quarterback in round one, like a Jordan Love situation. That's total speculation, but that would logically make sense in this scenario. So, again, you have to just assume that's going to happen. And then the other criticism, I guess, is okay, you loaded up so much on defensive line when that already is what you do well. But ultimately, where else should they have gone? You're getting good players that are worth their value in these spots. It's not like they're reaching on these players. So for me personally, I think it's totally fine to go after, again, Jack Sawyer was great value. Derek Harmon's a good player. And again, I know that Steelers fans, you want these guys to play forever, but okay, Cam Hayward's, he's 36 years old. I don't know if you're getting 800 snaps out of him every year, right? Maybe you only get 400 snaps out of him now, and now Derek Harmon can take 400, and you can still have really good value. Things like that. So, and Yahya Black can come in and take some snaps too. Jack Sawyer, I just don't know how he's going to get playing time. I just think he was a good enough player. They wanted to go there. So, ultimately, a very compelling draft. But those are kind of my thoughts on what I think about the Pittsburgh Steelers draft. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.